Hello?
Hi, Annie.
Is this Maria?
Yes, it's Maria from B&H. How are
Hi.
you?
I'm great, thank you.
So I heard you're speaking at Optic this year, so I figured I'd introduce you to the audience. Do you have time for 21 questions?
I sure do. I'm really excited about speaking at Optic. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's so great. I'm excited to have you and be able to listen to you from my couch.
Well, I'm going to tuck you into my backpack right now, and off we'll go.
Awesome. So what's on the agenda for today?
Well, I live on a little lake, and we just spotted a great blue heron out on the other side of the lake. So we're going to go out on my little boat and see if we can sneak up on them. But then, you know, there are lots of other birds and turtles and things, so we're just going to see what's out there. That's wildlife.
That's great. So what exactly do you do for a living then?
For a living, I'm a photographer. I've worked for National Geographic now for over 30 years, so that's my living.
And you shoot so many different styles, from cultures to wildlife and nature. How do you describe exactly what you do?
Well, you know, what I do is it's a real combination of things. Working for National Geographic, you have this wonderful opportunity to, you know, go to a place, and one day you may be photographing in a little hut someplace, and then the next day you may be out photographing wildlife or landscapes. I find it to be wonderful. I've never specialized, although I absolutely love being with people. I also, you know, I'm kind of a general assignment shooter, I guess, and I kind of like it all.
Mm-hmm. And even though you like it all, do you have a favorite?
Well, you know, lately I've been doing a lot of work with wildlife, and it's been really fun. It's, I don't know, I mean, days like today when you're up before anybody else is, and I feel like I have the world to myself. And I think sometimes we forget that, you know, just there's wonderful stuff in our own backyard. So I live on this little lake, and we're going to go hunting for a great blue heron and whatever else we can find. Let me untie us.
It looks like you're keeping pretty busy with this quarantine, but your work does require you to travel a lot. Has this affected you at all?
Oh yeah, I mean, there are so many things that have been postponed, and a lot of them will come back, but in the meantime, I think all of us are taking time to just look around our own backyard, you know, and that's where I started. I started in my backyard in photography, so it's just another opportunity to revisit that. I mean, last night, for the first time, I spotted a nest, and I have no idea what this bird is, but you know, I was outside and shooting, and there was this large bird on a nest, and I haven't had a chance to go over and spy, but it's been hidden for a while now. So anyway, but where we're going to go, we spotted the great blue heron over across the lake, so we're going to go see if we can find it.
And you mentioned you got started in photography in your backyard. What got you interested in photography?
Well, you know, I was a college student and started photographing in Minnesota, which Minnesota's beautiful. And I spent a lot of time up in the north woods of Minnesota, up in the Boundary Waters. And actually, you know, that beginning is what made me really want to live on water when I moved out to the East Coast. So this is my little lake, and I wake up to it every day, and it just makes me really happy.
And what was your first camera?
Here. My first camera was a Canon FTB. I remember it so well. And I remember holding it. It's kind of like when you hold a basketball or something that's really familiar. I'll never forget the feeling of holding that camera back in those days. And you know, I was a college kid, but it was a great camera, and I still miss it. I had to sell it to, you know, go on with my career.
Right.
I'd give anything to have it back. Okay, so I'm looking out to see if I can see the heron. We're gonna watch over here. Ooh, a cardinal just flew right through there. They like to hang out where they're, you know, in the like lily pads and in those areas because there's a lot of food. And so I think he's on his morning hunt. So it may take us a minute to get there, but could be cool.
And so you are one of the first female Nat Geo photographers. How has this notch on your belt continued to drive you in your career?
I've never thought of it as a notch on my belt. You know, it's been a privilege, honestly. It's just been such a privilege to have this long career at a wonderful magazine and publishing house. And you know, every assignment I do, every time I go out, I recognize that. I realize how lucky I am to have the gift of time and interesting assignments and places to, you know, keep growing. I think that's what all photographers want to do. We want to keep growing. I'm looking for the hair in here.
And what's your go-to camera and lens today?
Oh, you know, I'm a Lumix ambassador. Today I'll be using the G9. Oh, I just saw him fly. He's right over there. Right over there. Okay, let's go over there because I just saw him go into this little cove. We're on our way. Anyway, today I'll be using the G9 because it has this extraordinary 100 to 400 lens, which, I mean, in this little package, I can shoot wildlife wonderfully. So this is a mirrorless setup, and I, you know, I love that. I have the S1 as well, but this is my go-to wildlife lens. And then of course I've got a wide lens too. So, but this camera system has just been fabulous. I love it. Okay, I saw him. He went right in, kind of around there. We're so lucky that we got to see him where he flew. And I'm guessing he'll be hunting along that shore. So I'm probably going to get down a little bit lower, just because birds are, you know, birds are very aware of shapes and movement. So I don't, once we're closer to them, I don't want to, you know, be this big human form moving.
Right.
So I'll hunker down, and we'll try to get the boat in position so that I can shoot over here. Okay. Oh, he's flying again. He's flying again. Oh, he's coming this way now.
And so you're speaking at this year's B&H's Virtual Optic.
Yes.
Is teaching a big part of your career?
You know, teaching has been, I would say, an essential part of my career. It's the fact that you actually learn more than you teach by being with students and being with their energy and their questions, and it takes you back to where, oh, he's going this way. So anyway, we're gonna let him settle in a little minute because he got spooked by a kayak. But I mean, in terms of teaching, it renews that love that I started out with in photography. I mean, I got my first camera, took a course to just learn how to use it, and 2 weeks later I changed my major in college. It was like falling in love.
And have you been teaching or watching more virtual workshops during the quarantine?
Yeah, it's kind of fun because I've been teaching at a professional level virtually, but also these very creative teachers and very good teachers have been contacting me from different parts of the world. So last week I was contacted by a 5th grade teacher from Brazil, and she had kids who love photography and wondered if I could just talk to them. And so she set it all up on a Zoom, and they got to ask me questions. Then I had another teacher in Ohio, and you know, really having the privilege of talking to young students and encouraging them, and you know, letting them know that, oh look, there's a little green heron right there. Stop, right there, green heron. Up in the tree. Look at that. Cameras, it's silent. You know, so Oh, he just flew. Thank you. Okay, should we go try to find the great blue heron now? So we found his little cousin, but now we're gonna go for the big boy. That was so fun.
And so aside from your commercial work, do you have other passion projects? Can you tell me about your nonprofit?
Oh my goodness, yes. Well, I think after many years of being, one of the first women photographers at National Geographic, which allowed me to be with women all over the world, especially in gender-separate societies. I've worked a lot in the Middle East, and I realized how inaccurate the Western notion of women in the developing world is. And I've been with them on the floors of their homes. I've cooked with them. I've bathed their children. I really decided that my calling was to try to make life a little bit better for them by bringing back accurate stories of what they overcome and how successful they are at surviving even the most difficult challenges. I think a lot of times in the mainstream media we just see the disasters that they deal with, and that's important. But I really feel that we need to understand their strength and how important it is to invest in them. So I called my girlfriends, who are some of the best photographers in the world, and I said, what if we work together to tell these stories and raise the profile and encourage investment in women? And they all said yes. So we started Ripple Effect Images, and it's probably the thing I'm most proud of in my life, because I've been able to rally wonderful talent, filmmakers and photographers, and shine a light on programs that are really working. And we've actually helped our aid partners raise over $10 million for these programs. So what's better than that? Okay, so now we're on the prowl for bird number 2. I have to look with my glasses and shoot without them, so here we go.
So what are some tips for a young photographer or a young woman inspired by you looking to achieve success in photography?
Well, the good news is that there are so many women in photography right now, and so the field is open. I would say go after stories that are underreported. Start in your own backyard. I'm a big fan of photography for good, and so I encourage young photographers to think about what they love. Maybe they love dogs and cats. Well, go photograph at the local animal shelter. Offer your services. Whatever you care about, try to tell a little story. We usually start out with graphics and flowers and things that are safe and don't move them. We kind of get up to children because we're not scared of children. But working your way into storytelling is an art, and an important one for anyone who wants to be a photojournalist. You have to be able to put the pieces together to tell a story, and try to tell it in an artful way. So it's not about process. It's not like, well, first you get the clay and then you throw the pot, and it's much more about the person behind whatever the story is, and just being with them and earning the right to tell an intimate story. And that's my favorite part of the job.
And so we know you've been keeping busy during the quarantine with photographing in your backyard, but have you watched any good shows?
Actually, because things are so difficult, I've been trying to watch comedy. I've been trying to watch things that just make me laugh and make me forget how hard this is, what a difficult time this is. So and then I'll watch history too. So you go back in time and realize we survived through lots of things. So.
And you've traveled a ton, right? How many countries have you been to?
About 150. About 150 countries.
Wow.
I didn't really realize it until I was asked to count them up, for an article, I think it was, to see, and I was surprised. But that still means there's a lot of countries I haven't been to. There's a lot of countries left.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, I love Jordan. I love the Kingdom of Jordan, where I have dear friends, and we spent lovely time. My kids traveled with me on assignment when they were growing up, and we just, it's kid heaven there. And I think I love it more because it's really what the Arab culture is about. There's a misperception about it, and we were with people who, had beautiful families, a very tough life, but also joyful life.
Is there somewhere you haven't been that you want to go?
Yeah, I've never been to Greece. I know, isn't that crazy? I've never been to Greece. I've never been to Russia. Oh, what a morning.
And what's the most challenging shoot you've had to do?
Oh, it's pretty, well, most challenging in terms of just difficult to get permissions and stuff was when I did Jerusalem. Just because there's so much fear, and there were so many different permissions and things you needed. But the funniest thing was that the worst assignment I ever had was the Loire Valley in France, of all things, which I thought would be a walk in the park, but it was one of those assignments where it just rained day after day after day. And I mean, not like interesting rain, I love weather, but no, just like blah, just dreary, dreary, dreary rain. And I've never been so happy to get out of a place in my life as after that.
And if you weren't a photographer, what would you be?
A writer. I actually do write quite a bit. I've written 4 books, and that's what I always thought I would do. I mean, from the time I was a little kid. So I do love to write, and I really love to get lost in books, and I also just love to play with language. When I read a beautiful sentence or a beautiful paragraph, I just want to read it over and over again, because it's that gift of using language in a unique way. So, a writer, maybe a teacher.
And what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I think the best piece of advice I've ever received was from Bob Gilka, who was the legendary director of photography at National Geographic for 35 years. And he said early on, I was really young when I started at Geographic, I was 25. And he said, I'm knee deep in talent and ankle deep in ideas. And I think that really stuck with me, because he was saying, you need to bring me more than your skills. You need to bring me ideas, and you need to research, and you are journalists. You're not just photographers, you're journalists, and so you need to find the stories, and find the stories that nobody else knows about, and bring them back. So I've kind of kept that in my heart ever since. Yeah, great advice. Oh, he was a great man. He was my great mentor.
And aside from your camera, what's your favorite piece of gear?
Wow. Besides my camera, what's my favorite piece of gear? I guess a backpack. The right backpack, where everything's in its place and I don't have to think about it. I mean, I basically, I never use a camera bag. I never wear a photo vest. I really want to look much more like a traveler than like a photographer. I like to disappear. I go very light. I like small gear. And also, because I'm working often in really difficult places, I like to go with just carry-on. And I can go for 2 weeks with just a backpack and a little wheelie bag that has everything I need, even my food. Okay, so here we go. Okay, we found the heron. Here we go. You see? Poor guy, he's in a terrible place now.
So if there were to be a movie about your life, who would play you?
Oh, I don't know. It's funny, every once in a while people will tell me I look like Katharine Hepburn, and she's not available right now, but I think maybe it's her spirit, her kind of tomboy spirit, that you know, the kind of out of Africa personality. And I am feisty, and I'm oh, here he comes. Oh my gosh, I have to get this. Oh wow. Oh, he's perfect. He's perfect. Okay. Not too close. Oh, we're so lucky. We're so lucky. It's in gorgeous light.
And last question, who should we interview next?
Who should you interview next? You know, I think it would be really fun for you to interview Joel Sartori, because he's doing this amazing project on endangered species. And he's a great person to feature, and he's completely dedicated to that work. I admire so much my colleagues who've decided to take the last chapter of their career maybe and focus on something really important, so that their legacy is specific and important. So he's great. Amy Vitale is great. Oh, and she's going to be speaking at Optic. She works with Ripple. Let's see, who else? Lynn Johnson is one of the most thoughtful photographers in terms of really thinking through what she believes in. And so is Joanna Pinio. She's a very, very thoughtful, important photographer. There's so many. Oh, and good, I did guys and girls. Well, Maria, thanks so much for calling. It's really been fun talking to you. Right now, I got to zero in on this heron because he's in a beautiful place.
Awesome. Yes, go ahead, concentrate. I can't wait to see these photos.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, thanks.